Okay, we have another differences between the structural differences between the rods and the cone, and this is, we are saying that the adaptation. So when we are looking on the adaptation between the rods and the cones, also they are quite different. That is, we are saying that the rods are allowed to adapt to changes in the light levels, while the cones adapt quickly. That is why takes a few minutes for our eyes to adjust to a dark room. So ina maana kwamba tukiangalia adaptation kati ya rods and the cones, the rods are well adapted to differentiate, or we can say that to adapt to a changes in the light level ukikompare na ile cones. Ndio maana tunasema hizi rods they are very sensitive to low light content, or to a low light condition. That's why we can see or we can have ability to differentiate different kind of things or different kinds of objects during dark room. For example, as I explained this example frequently, that is on a dark room, kwa maana kwamba ulikuwa chumbani, suddenly usiku umeme ukakata, lakini pale ambapo patatokea tuna mwanga kidogo, utakuwa na uwezo wa kuona that is the light. Why? Is due to the adaptation which is carried within the rod. It is well adapted it is well adapted to adjust, to accommodate different kinds of things within the environment during a dark condition, or during in the dark room, compared to the cones. But also we have another difference between the rods and the cones, structural difference, that is the visual acuity. Visual acuity. That is, we are saying that cones are responsible for high visual acuity, or the ability to see fine details, but the rods has lower visual acuity. Tukisema visual acuity, that is the ability to see a fine object. So within a cones have a high visual acuity, that is, the cones has ability to see different kinds of things that are fine material compared to the rods. So rods lack a visual acuity, does not have that ability to distinguish or to discriminate different things that is very small during a dim light, compared to the cones, which have that ability to see different kinds of things in a light condition, or in a bright condition. But lastly, we can say that the rods and cones, they define the color vision. Color vision, uwezo wa kuona rangi mbalimbali. So here we are saying that the cones are responsible for color vision, but rods only see a shade of a gray. So now tunasema kwamba the rods and the cones, they are very different in terms of the vision of the color. Tunasema kwamba cones ndio ambayo inakuwa na uwezo mkubwa wa kuweza kudiscriminate different kind of color compared to the cones, since within the cones there is lack of that pigment that is green, red together with blue. Kwa hiyo sasa ile rhodopsin, or that pigment which is found within the rod, lack that ability to discriminate different kind of colors. And that's why during a night, or during a dim light, you cannot even distinguish color. During a dark room, you cannot distinguish a color that is red, that is green, that is blue. Huwezi ukadistinguish. Kwa sababu gani? Rod ndio ambapo inafanya kazi during a night. Kwa hiyo sasa, and within the rod there is lack of those pigments, specifically green, that green, red together with the blue. Within the rod lack those abilities. So now we can say that the rods and the cones, the rods are long and cylindrical, while the cones are shorter and conical. And the structure of it and the function of it, we have already discussed it on the previous session. But also, my student, I would like to give you more clarification on the differences between the rods and the cones. But make sure that those 10 points you have it into your notebook, so that it can help you into your exam to answer different kind of question concerning the structural difference between the rods and the cones. So now let's proceed by seeing other differences or another explanation on the structural differences between the rods and the cones. So now we can say that moreover, the rods and the cones system differ dramatically in their degree of convergence. That is a factor which contributes greatly to their distinctive property. Kwa ukiangalia ile structure au ile rod system na cone system zinazopatikana within the retina, they are quite different. Ndio maana hapa tumesema kwamba they differ dramatically in their degree of convergence of light. How does the light enter through the cones and how does the light enter through the rods? Lakini here we have to know that each rod bipolar cells is contracted by a number of rods, and many rods bipolar cells contracted to a given amacrine cell. So tunasema kwamba each rod bipolar cells contracted by a number of rods. So hii ina depend pia na number of rods. Remember, within the rods is where now, within the retina, rods they are more, tunasema kwamba zinapatikana kwa wingi zaidi. About 120 million rods which are found within the retina. So in contrast with the cones, and now we can say that cone system is much less convergence. That is, each retina ganglion cells that dominate central vision, called the mid-gate ganglion cells, receive input from only one cone bipolar cell, which in turn is contracted by a single cone. So ukienda kuangalia pia ile convergent inayopatikana ndani au convergence inayopatikana ndani ya cone system inakuwa ni less convergence, meaning that ile ganglion, we can say that ganglion cells that dominate the central vision, called the mid-gate ganglion cells, receive input from only one cone bipolar cell, which in turn is contracted by a single cone. When you're going furthermore, ukienda ukirudia ile structure au ile diagram ya ile retina, utaweza kuona hizi contraction and the convergence of the bipolar neuron that are coming from that we have seen that within the rods is where convergence are coming from the amacrine cells and the other bipolar neuron. Lakini ukiangalia hii cones na yenyewe pia inakuwa na zile convergence, but its convergence it is less compared to the rods. And now we can say that the convergence make the rod system better detector of the light, because small signals from many rods are pulled to generate a single response in the bipolar cell. That is why we can the rods have a high sensitivity to a light. Why? It's due to the presence the rod system, it is better. That is when you are seeing the small signals from many rods are pulled to generate a large response. Kwa kunakuwa na convergence of many bipolar neurons kwenye one neuron, ndipo ambapo unapata response kubwa kukompare na kwenye cones. So at the same, we can say that at the same time, convergence reduce the spatial resolution of the rod system, since the source of the signal is a rod bipolar cells or retinal ganglion cells, could have come from anywhere within the relative large area of the retinal surface. Kwa ile convergence ambayo inatokea kwenye retina, kwenye rods, ndio ambaye sasa tunasema kwamba inakuwa ni kwenye rods panakuwa na low resolution, meaning that the rods has lack ability to differentiate different kinds of color or different lengths of light or an object, is due to convergence that is occurring within the rods. But finally, here we can say that the one-to-one relationship of the cones to bipolar and ganglion cell is of course required to maximize the acuity. So ile convergence ambayo inatokea less convergence ambayo inatokea kwenye cones ndiyo ambayo inafanya ile cones kuwa more acute, meaning that to see very fine material compared to the rods. So in here we have said that a one-to-one relationship of the cones, bipolar, and the ganglion cells is of course required to maximize the acuity. Ndiyo ambayo inasaidia sasa to maximize the acuity or visual acuity within the eye, kwa sababu visual acuity tunasema kwamba that ability to see fine material, that is a visual acuity, and it is provided by a cones which are found within our eyes. And by saying so, my students, this marks the end of our today's session. So thank you for following us, Educator TZ. Bye bye. Have a nice moment.